Hi, this is Mashnu, and I'm going to do a 20 minutes exercise again. So I'll open the database and let's see where we can find a game. Here, Shirov playing black against Mamedyarov. Okay, so we can open this game and let's move on until a moment. In the middle game, like here, and it's black to move. The last move of white was h5. So we'll start thinking about this position for 20 minutes and let's see what's happening here, because white is attacking on the king side with h5. Let's have a look at the material. Is it equal? Yeah, there are only one pawn has been traded. The c file is open, and I see a very strong white knight on e5. It looks like white has a good position here, having also initiative on the king side with his attack against the black king. The queen and the bishop placed on the same diagonal on d2 and e3, so eventually later the 4-5 could open the diagonal. How to react here? Now, taking on h5 doesn't look good, in the sense it would ruin the pawn structure that defends my king. And let's see, what could we do? It's not easy to find a correct plan. I mean, on the king side there is nothing to achieve for black. In the center, white has this strong knight on e5. Trading the knights would open the f-file and open the diagonal where the queen and the bishop is standing. So taking knight takes e5, white would take back with the f-pawn, and the white position would even be better, I think, because of the opening of this diagonal and this file, f-file. So I don't think that's a wise thing to do. So perhaps we will have to look for some chances on the queen side. Can we use the a file and the c file somehow by advancing the a pawn, perhaps? Are there any weakness in the white camp? Well, the pawn on g3 is undefended, but it's very difficult to get there. I find this a very difficult position, since black doesn't have enough space and activity. How can we improve this position for black? Trying to chase away the knight from e5 by playing f6 looks... no, it's not good. It loses a pawn immediately on g6. Perhaps... no. I was thinking of rerouting the knight from b6 towards e4, supported by the move f5 as well, but that's just fantasy. It's not there's not really a good way of doing that. If black does nothing, then white will continue his attack by taking on g6 and later perhaps advancing the g pawn to g4 and then the f pawn to f5. So we need to do something. What about playing a5, f4? If white takes, then knight takes a4 to open the a file. Difficult. The only thing I can think of at the moment is playing a5, f4, but it doesn't give enough. a4 and white doesn't even have to take, so after a4 h takes, g6 can follow, and after recapturing with the h pawn, then I could take on b3, white takes back on b3, then I could play rook to a3, attacking the b3 pawn. White could defend it, if you place a rook to b1, then the c file is abandoned by white. So perhaps this is not a bad idea, trying to open the a file. So playing a4, what if he takes on a4? Now then the pawn a2 will become weak. Let's calculate. a4, b takes a4, knight takes a4, knight takes a4, rook takes a4, followed by rook c to a8. And then perhaps even the knight from c6 to b4, in case he plays rook to c2. This looks like an option. Let's see if there is something else than opening this a file. If we have two possible plans, then we can choose one of those, but I don't want to be dependent on only one thought. Let's see. Perhaps not really. I was thinking about moving the queen away to later play the knight from c6 to e7 and then to f5. So for example, by moving now queen to b4. now it's queen on b4 is not well placed, I think. I think I'll stick to a4. Let's see what happens, what could happen if I play a4 and he could also, after a4 he could play g4. If I then take on b3, he takes back on b3. I play rook to a3. He could perhaps sacrifice that pawn on b3, so allow me to play rook takes b3. So he could, for example, play f4, f5. First taking on g6. After h takes g6, h takes g6, then f4, f5. His pawn would be standing on g4, the other one. So if I take on f5, he takes back with the h pawn. I could take one more time, and then he could play bishop to h6. Perhaps this attack on the king's side is not that dangerous, because he cannot use that easily his rooks. So he would actually have to perhaps prepare this by moving his king first to f2, then moving one rook to h1 before he starts the attack. So the attack is not that fast. So a5 to a4. That's my idea. a5, a4. If he takes, then I take, knight takes, rook takes, and I have pressure against the a2 pawn. It looks good, I think, to play a4. a4, b takes a4, knight takes a4, knight takes a4, rook takes a4. If he continues with rook to c2 to overprotect the a2 pawn, I could even play knight to b4, attacking the rook and the pawn on b2. My knight is defended by the queen on e7. Oh, wait a minute, the queen would be overloaded. Perhaps if it takes on d7, no, because I take the rook on c2. Oh, that's no problem. Yes, I don't see any other good alternative than to advance the pawn from a5 to a4. I have still 5 more minutes, so let me have a last look if there's any other possible plan than opening the a file. In the center there's nothing to achieve. If I play f6, oh, wait a minute, I said before if I play f6 then he wins the pawn on g6, but that's not true because I'm attacking the knight on e5. Okay, so this could be another option, to play f6. If we then place knight knight f3 or knight g4 or knight takes c6. Let's see, see, f6. If the knight goes, we could also go to d3. Let's say knight f3. Knight f3. Then that knight would have. I have achieved then that then the strong knight is gone from there. But how to continue then? Because it will mean that g6 becomes a bit weaker. So that knight from f3 can later go to h4 to attack g6 again after when g6 is traded. So f6, knight to f3. No, I don't think this is correct. It doesn't feel good to play f6 because it weakens the pawn structure on the king side. So again, a4. Yeah. Yes, this would be my game, and I would be to move here with black. I would play a4. That's my my choice. Yes, I go for a4. So I'll have a look now at what happened in the game. Let's see. I'm not very confident this time because I find it a very difficult position. It's very difficult for black to get some active play. But let's have a look. Oh, see what happened. Next move is a4. Alright, I have the correct. Good. Then what happened? Knight takes, take, okay. This is what I saw. And then he played g4. And then rook to a8. Very logical move. Rook to c2. Okay, now in my idea was knight to b4 good. Now I played first bishop to e8. Let's see, why not knight to b4 here? Knight to b4. Is the queen overloaded? No, the knight is also defended by the rook on a4, so why not? Doesn't it win a pawn simply? Knight to b4. Oh, then rook to c7, of course. Yeah. If now knight to b4, then the rook enters at b7, pinning the bishop on g7, and that's the reason why black played bishop to e8, to prevent the rook from entering on c7. I understand. And how did it then continue? Bishop to f3, knight to a5. Oh, the knight was going to c4, so it didn't go to b4 to win the a pawn. That's surprising. He took there and then he placed the knight on c4. The knight is very strong now there, of course, and the a2 pawn stays weak. Well, this is a very instructive moment, because that means that I'll go back just a few moves. That means that here black understands that more important than winning a pawn on a2 is having a strong knight on this outpost c4. And of course it cannot be played in two moves there. The next move cannot be knight to c4 because of the knight on e5, so that one is traded first, and then a knight to c4. Now suddenly black has a good position. How did it continue? Exchange, sacrifice. So that this knight is so strong there that white decides to give the rook for the knight and then try to attack. Oh, what happened here? Oops, let's go back, not that fast. So, okay, sacrifice of the exchange by white, bishop to h6, and now queen to h4. Take on e6, and then rook to g4, so giving the exchange back and opening all the defense of the white king. And here, did he bring the rook to a3 perhaps? No, check. Now rook a3 check. Rook in between. Queen takes e5. King goes to g2. This is interesting, but because it turned around completely. Black has now initiative against the white king, trading here and then taking there, and now this is a very good endgame for black, an endgame with 2 pawns, 3 pawns more, and different colored bishops, but still this must be one for black. I'll move fast forward now to have a look how it went. Yeah, this is one for black. Must be. The a pawn is advancing. Couldn't he here? Queen. Oh no, then bishop to e5 check. King to h2 and then queen to h1. King goes to g3. Queen to g2 check. King to h4. Queen to h3 checkmate. Okay, so he couldn't queen his own pawn. Now he does, after defending. But here white resigned. Is it necessary here to resign? I'll put the engine on now, because I found this very difficult to evaluate. Okay, now what was the last move? Oh, king to h2. Oh, he resigned because it's black to move, of course. It's made in 2 moves now. Queen to h1 check. King to g3 and then queen to h4 checkmate. I'll go back to the initial position in the exercise because I have the engine now on, and then we can have a look at what the engine says here. It says indeed that a4 is the best move. Second best is g takes h5, but that's positionally strange. a4 take is the best. Take g4. Now rook to a8. Rook to a8, according to Fritz, is one of the 3 best moves. Is that number 3 now? Fritz thinks that g takes h5 is better, but that's so strange positionally to take on h5. I don't trust that. So rook a8, and now on that. Here knight to b4, that was my initial idea, is the second best move according to Fritz. Knight to a5 is according to Fritz an inferior move, less good than knight to b4. Knight to b4 is according to Fritz stronger, but knight to a5 is also one of the good moves. It's at number 4 right now at the ranking list, let's say. And after this, after f5, take, and the knight goes to c4, very strong knight. Okay, so I'll stop here the video. I find it interesting here that this knight on c4 is so strong, and that the attack of white with this pawn storm on the king side actually turned around completely, because the queen now could use these dark squares to enter, and the rook could enter via the 3rd rank there. And in the initial position it was correct that the only chance for black is on the queen side. There is nothing to achieve in the center, there's nothing to achieve on the king side. On the queen side is where black has to open some lines for the rooks and enter over there. Alright, well, thank you very much for watching this time, and leave your comments on YouTube, and I'll continue doing this daily exercise because I find it very good for me, for my own play, to train this way. Okay, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.